Chosen one. God is funding your life now. Stop worrying. Something is shifting in the atmosphere around you, and you can sense it now more than ever. It's no longer just a hunch. It's not your imagination. The weight that's been pressing on your shoulders is beginning to feel lighter. And even though you haven't seen it all materialize yet, your spirit is already adjusting to the truth. God is funding your life now, not later, not someday, right now. The time for worry is over. The burden of trying to make everything work by your own might has lifted, and something divine is taking its place. A supernatural supply chain that does not run dry, does not fail, and does not ask for explanations. You are being carried by provision, protected by divine economy, and surrounded by spiritual overflow. If your heart has been heavy and your mind flooded with concerns about how it's all going to work out, take this moment and pause. Breathe. Let the words wash over you like warm light. Wishes are coming true, not by force, but by spiritual alignment. When you believe, when you speak, when you write, something responds in the universe. Watch this video until the end, and write your warmest wishes in the comments and write Amen along with the number 99. This moment is more than a pause in your day. It's a realignment with what's already being released. The energy you send out returns magnified. And today you're aligning with heaven's resources in a way you've never known before. Now chosen one. Like this video. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed to the channel, and let's begin. You've come a long way. Quiet battles, long nights, unseen endurance. You had to walk when others were carried. You had to give when you barely had. And even when the doors shut, even when the calls didn't come, even when it seemed like the world had overlooked you, you kept going. What you didn't realize then is that God was watching the entire time, every step, every breath, every moment of quiet perseverance. It was all seen. And now something sacred is unfolding. The resources you need are no longer being withheld. The green light has been given in places you haven't even stepped into yet. God is not just blessing you with what you need. He's blessing you with what will sustain you, elevate you, and surround you with undeniable evidence that this was not your doing. The worry had a purpose. It reminded you that you were never made to carry all of this alone. But now that season of anxiety is closing and a new door is opening. Not a door you had to break open. Not a door you had to build yourself. A door that was reserved with your name written in radiant light. God is funding your life in a way that goes beyond currency. He's releasing favor. He's releasing ideas. He's releasing partnerships, protection, and platforms. And as the pieces start falling into place, you'll look back at the moments when it felt like nothing was happening and realize those were the exact moments everything was being rearranged behind the scenes. You weren't forgotten. You weren't being punished. You are being prepared for a kind of provision that cannot be canceled. When God funds your life, He doesn't give you just enough. He gives you so much that you overflow into others. He gives you peace that cannot be shaken even when storms come. He gives you stamina that carries you through exhaustion. He gives you clarity that clears every lie of lack. You start to walk differently. You think differently. Not because something changed outside, but because something holy shifted inside. The source is not the job, the paycheck, the opportunity, or the applause. The source is God, and when He steps in, the math doesn't make sense to others. The timing seems unusual, but everything begins to multiply in your favor. You have seen dry places before. You have known what it feels like to pour from an empty cup, to believe without seeing, to wait without answers. But that was the proving ground. That was where your endurance was forged. That's where your soul grew stronger and more disciplined. It didn't feel like growth, it felt like survival. But now, what was survival is turning into abundance. God is using what you've been through to finance what you're about to walk into. This is not about reward. This is about identity. You are not being funded because of what you've done. You're being funded because of who you are. A chosen one, a vessel of light, someone who carries the blueprint of destiny in your bones. As things begin to show up, unexpected calls, approvals, divine timing, even anonymous blessings, you'll feel a strange sense of familiarity. Like it was always supposed to happen, like you knew it deep in your being. That's not coincidence. That's alignment. And when your life is funded by the hand of God, no human delay can stop it. No system can restrict it. And no mistake can cancel it. You're not late. You're not behind. You're on schedule. In fact, what looks like a detour is really a disguised shortcut. Because when God sponsors your elevation, He makes sure it arrives with unmistakable favor. So, if today your eyes still see what looks like emptiness, don't panic. Stillness does not mean absence. Silence does not mean rejection. You're in the stretch of divine tension, the kind that happens just before the breakthrough. God is not waiting to see if you qualify. You were pre-approved. And now the release is happening bit by bit, day by day. It may arrive in a form you weren't expecting, but it will carry the unmistakable scent of heaven. You'll know it when it lands. You'll feel the peace rush in, and you'll understand why the waiting had to be this long, this specific, this wholly chosen one. It's your time. The delays didn't break you. They refined you. The losses didn't destroy you. They clarified you. And now, as you stand in the sacred moment of transition, remember this truth. The funding is not coming. It's here. It has already been approved, signed, and sealed. Now, it's simply unfolding in perfect divine rhythm. The worry was a chapter, but funding is the theme of the new season. God is not holding back. He is pouring out. And your name is on the list of those receiving the flow. You were never meant to carry the weight of survival alone. There was always a higher intelligence orchestrating the right moments, redirecting the wrong ones, and keeping you afloat when your strength was about to collapse. And now, this chapter in your journey isn't just about recovering what was lost. It's about becoming someone new in the presence of supernatural provision. This is not a temporary fix. It's not a loan. It's not a moment of luck. What's arriving now is a holy deposit placed into your life with your name encoded in it. It comes with certainty. It comes with divine legitimacy. When God funds your life, nothing is missing. Nothing is denied. Nothing is left out. You are being provided for in ways that stretch beyond your previous imagination. And the best part, you're not having to chase it. This isn't about hustle anymore. This is about flow. This is about spiritual movement that aligns you with opportunities that are already magnetized to your presence. You are not stepping into doors you begged to open. You are stepping into doors that waited for your arrival. The funding God is releasing over your life was never meant to be late. It was meant to be precise. And now it's showing up with that precision. The people, the places, the moments, all of them now orbit around a different gravity. One that is fueled by purpose and sustained by promise. This is what it feels like when God decides the time is now. The anxiety you used to feel around finances, timelines, obligations, and next steps starts to fade. You begin waking up with less tension in your chest. You notice the calm in situations that used to trigger you. You stop trying to micromanage the outcome and start witnessing the orchestration of divine movement. You're not being left to figure it out anymore. The plan is being revealed step by step. And each new revelation confirms that you are indeed chosen for this time, this level, this blessing. Let this truth settle in your soul. You will not run out. You will not fall behind. You will not be excluded. The overflow is not just touching you, it's surrounding you. There is a reason you were placed in this timeline, in this season, with these desires and these gifts. God knew what He placed in you, and He knew what would be required to activate it. That's why certain people had to exit. That's why certain chapters had to close. That's why the loneliness became necessary. All of it was making room. All of it was clearing space for the true provision to land undisturbed, uncorrupted, undeniable. And now your name is on divine documents, assignments, releases, approvals, and supernatural grants. These are not signed by human hands. These are not systems you have to fight to prove your worth in. These are heavenly transactions, invisible to most, but more real than anything you've known. And once these documents are activated, the ripple is impossible to stop. What starts as a sudden connection or unexpected payment will soon evolve into a full lifestyle transformation. What used to be a moment of relief becomes your baseline. What used to be breakthrough becomes your norm. You didn't need to qualify by the world's standards, you were already chosen. And that choice came with access. The very structure of your soul is wired to receive what the world tries to restrict. You carry divine clearance in spaces that say off limits. That's why your life has felt so strange, so inconsistent, so unlike others. You weren't meant to build from the outside in. You were designed to be filled from the inside out. That's why the funding that's coming doesn't look like what others receive. It's custom, it's tailored, it's sacred, and it's just for you. Every time you questioned whether your prayers were being heard, the answer was being formed. Every moment you felt the silence of heaven, the foundation was quietly being laid. You weren't waiting in vain. You were standing in position. And now the response is loud, clear, glorious. Your life is being funded by the only source that never runs out. Not just financially, but mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. You are being upgraded from lack into legacy, from survival into stability, from wondering into knowing. You will begin to notice the shift even in small things. The bills paid early, the client that comes back, the project that takes off with little effort, the peace that surpasses all your logic. These are not coincidences. These are spiritual deposits being made into your daily life. And the more you witness them, the more you'll understand you were never left to fend for yourself. The promise over your life came with its own supply chain, and God is funding it in real time. You'll see people surprised by your turnaround. You'll hear whispers that try to explain how it happened, but deep down you'll know it wasn't anything you could have manufactured. You'll know it wasn't because of strategy or status or strategy. It was divine decision. It was God's hand moving things in your favor. Even when you weren't looking, you didn't have to ask the world for a seat. Heaven built you a table. And now the feast is being prepared. The atmosphere is shifting and your name is being called forward. Even the things that were delayed are about to arrive ahead of time. The timing is catching up to the assignment, and you, chosen one, are standing in the middle of a moment that was always yours. God is not waiting for better conditions to bless you. He's doing it now with the backdrop of confusion, fear, and instability. He is making your life a signal of divine power. You are being lifted not just for yourself, but for every person who will witness your story and realize that something greater is at work. There is no need to explain your peace, no need to defend your increase. When God funds your life, the evidence speaks for itself. And the ones who once questioned your path will be the same ones asking how you found your way. You won't need to justify it. You'll just live it quietly, confidently, gratefully, and everything that was once withheld will now arrive in a flow that reminds you the delay was never denial. It was preparation for something that couldn't be rushed. There's a different weight to your steps now, a different rhythm to your day. Even if you can't quite articulate it yet, something has shifted. The pressure to figure it all out has been replaced with a quiet, unshakable knowing. You're not walking alone. God has stepped into the equation. He's not just supporting your journey, He's funding it. This means the burden of proof is no longer on your shoulders. The invisible weight you used to carry, the how, the when, the what if, has been lifted. You are now being backed by something far more powerful than your efforts. And that power is making its presence known. You'll begin to notice strange favor in situations that should have been complicated. That appointment you forgot rescheduled without penalty. That bill you feared covered just in time. That door you thought was locked forever opens without explanation. You start living in what can only be described as divine assistance. God is not negotiating on your behalf. He is authorizing releases in places where others still have to wait. And you'll know it wasn't luck. You'll know it wasn't coincidence. You'll know it was holy. This shift is personal, tailored, and you, chosen one, are the recipient of funding that matches not just your need, but your calling. It's showing up in ways you didn't expect through people you didn't plan to meet, ideas you didn't know you had, and moments that feel almost too well timed to be real. But they are real. This is what happens when heaven's calendar aligns with your earthly timeline. The old patterns of delay and confusion are dissolving, and in their place is a fresh clarity that comes when you're operating under divine sponsorship. God doesn't fund chaos, He funds vision. And what you've been carrying quietly, faithfully, sometimes even fearfully, is vision wrapped in hope. Vision born out of pain. Vision refined through rejection. And now that the appointed time has come, the vision is being met with provision. The spiritual funding you are receiving is not random. It's the result of a sacred decision that this moment in time would be the start of your overflow, not based on merit, not based on effort, but based on the divine decision to reveal who you truly are and what you carry. There's no more need to stretch your energy trying to convince people to see your value. No more need to explain why you chose the harder road. No more need to compare your journey to others. God saw every detour. He saw every sacrifice, and now He's making a public demonstration of His favor over your life. Not to prove anything to others, but to remind you that nothing you went through was wasted. Every lonely moment, every delayed promise, every door that didn't open, they were protecting the timing of this release. This isn't just about resources, it's about rhythm. You are stepping into a life pace that's no longer reactive. You're no longer scrambling to make ends meet. You're no longer trying to force a breakthrough. You're no longer stuck in patterns of scarcity thinking. This new pace flows with grace. It moves with ease. It carries momentum that doesn't have to be forced. It's what happens when your foundation is not based on hustle, but on holiness. God is funding your rhythm now, and it shows in everything from your words to your rest to your resilience. You may feel a strange lightness rising. That's the worry being replaced. That's the noise of fear being quieted. That's the volume of doubt being turned down. You are hearing a new frequency now, one that confirms what you felt in your gut all along. You were born to live in overflow, not lack. You were born to be covered, not abandoned. You were born to build with divine resources, not with borrowed strength. And now that knowing is being validated with evidence, the universe is no longer indifferent to you. Everything is responding to the divine instruction that was whispered over your life. Fund them, support them, surround them, protect them. God is not taking chances with your life. He is orchestrating precision plays that only make sense in hindsight. And what may feel like coincidence to others will be confirmation to you. Every shift, every sudden encounter, every unexpected answer, it's all evidence that God's hand is fully on your life. Your thoughts will shift from worry to wonder instead of, how will I make it? You'll begin thinking, I can't believe this just happened. Instead of, why is it always hard? You'll begin feeling, this is easier than I imagined. Not because life stopped being life, but because divine funding doesn't just change your outcomes. It transforms your perspective. You begin to walk with a different level of peace, even in the face of uncertainty, because you know the source is stable. There will be moments when the overflow catches you off guard. You'll check your account and see more than expected. You'll walk into rooms you thought were out of reach. You'll receive answers to prayers you forgot you prayed. And with every moment of confirmation, you'll be reminded this is real. This is happening. This is not hype. This is heaven. So let yourself feel it. Let yourself believe that something extraordinary is unfolding. You are not the exception to the blessing, you are the example of it. You are not the one who missed out. You are the one who is being hidden for divine timing. And now that the time has arrived, you're stepping into what has always been yours. No more resistance, no more fear, no more doubt. The provision is here. The funding is in place. And God is not done showing you just how much more is available. Everything is beginning to align, and this alignment isn't fragile, it's not fleeting. What's happening now in your life is rooted in something ancient, deep, and deliberately designed for you. The turbulence of your past wasn't the end of your story. It was the necessary passage that led you here. And now God is not only making sure that you're sustained, but He's also guaranteeing that everything you touch from this point forward carries the mark of divine favor. This isn't a wishful beginning, it's a sacred launch. You've crossed into a territory where the old rules no longer apply. You'll notice that the things which used to intimidate you now feel small. Not because the challenges have shrunk, but because your spiritual capacity has expanded. You are not who you used to be. You're no longer operating from survival instincts. You're operating from divine instruction. The funding over your life now means you can say yes to things you once had to reject. You can plan with faith instead of fear. You can move with confidence instead of hesitation. That's what happens when heaven sponsors your steps. The pathway becomes clearer, the weight becomes lighter, the provision becomes consistent. And while others may be wondering how it's all coming together for you, you'll be too deep in purpose to explain. Because this isn't a season for justification, it's a season for execution. You're not being asked to make others understand your journey. You're being invited to walk it out without apology. When God funds your life, explanations become unnecessary. The fruit speaks for itself. The outcomes tell the story, and the miracles confirm the source you're living in, what others call rare, but to you it's simply the result of obedience and endurance. There are days coming when the very environment around you will shift because of your presence. That's how much spiritual power is being funded right now. Your energy will enter a room and solutions will unfold. Your ideas will be received with open doors instead of resistance. The same people who once overlooked you will now be drawn to you. Not because you changed, but because the divine signal over your life has been activated. You are carrying something undeniable. And it's not your job to shrink it. It's your calling to walk in it. What once took months will now take days. What once required struggle will now require surrender. And as you release the need to control the details, you'll witness God's precision like never before. He's not asking for your stress. He's offering His strategy. And that strategy includes full funding, the kind of support that answers the question before it's even asked. The kind of backing that shows up before the need arises. You're now living in a rhythm where the outcome has already been decided. You're just watching it unfold. The next time you feel the urge to panic, remember this: you are not operating on your own anymore. The pressure to be your own provider has been removed. You've been promoted from self-made to God-backed. And that changes everything. You no longer have to chase opportunities. They're being magnetized to you. You no longer have to over-explain your vision. It's being recognized by those appointed to help build it. You no longer have to beg for help. The right hands are being assigned to lift, support, and empower you. This divine funding isn't loud. It's not flashy. But it is undeniable. It doesn't always look like a flood. It might begin with a whisper, a spark, a seemingly small provision, but every little sign is a signal. Yeah, I saw it. Every step forward is a statement. You are not just hoping things work out. You are now walking in a sequence of miracles that were already scripted into your life. And the more you trust that, the more rapidly it will unfold. Your voice is becoming more powerful. Your vision is becoming more clear. Your life is becoming more full. This is what it feels like when worry loses its grip and divine supply takes over. You don't have to push like you used to. You don't have to carry everything like before. God is funding not just your moments, but your mission. He's covering what you can't calculate. He's multiplying what you once thought was meager, and He's turning every setback into a setup for overflow. And though you may still be surrounded by people who don't understand the shift you're in, don't let that confuse your path. God didn't consult them when He chose to bless you. He didn't need their approval to mark you. You were selected long before you even realized what was inside you. And now that selection is manifesting in ways you can't deny. The very things you used to dream of are now becoming your new normal. Not because you figured it out, but because God did. The clarity you're receiving now isn't a coincidence. It's confirmation. Confirmation that all of this, every delayed dream, every lonely night, every silent tear was leading to this moment. The moment where heaven and earth agree that your name is associated with overflow, that your name is linked to legacy, that your name is attached to divine sponsorship, and you'll continue to see it in conversations that shift the direction of your life, in unexpected connections that unlock new pathways in peace that defies logic, in doors that were sealed shut, suddenly swinging wide open. You're being lifted by invisible hands, funded by invisible supply, and guided by a God who never breaks his word. This is just the beginning. There's more coming, more release, more abundance, more clarity, more joy, and with every wave that hits your life, you'll remember you didn't earn this by force, you received it by faith. The elevation you're walking into now doesn't come with noise, it comes with clarity. It doesn't demand that you shout or strive. Instead, it quietly wraps around your life with confirmation after confirmation that God has taken over the funding of your destiny. The shift is permanent. The days of scraping by in silence, hoping someone would notice, are over. You have entered the kind of spiritual season where provision becomes predictable. Not because you figured out a formula, but because you finally surrendered to the divine system designed just for you. What once took everything in you just to survive now becomes the fertile soil where miracles are planted. You no longer panic about the basics. You no longer lose sleep over the unknown because deep in your bones you know now. God is not just near, he is involved. He's not watching from afar. He's already moving things into position. His funding covers everything from your emotions to your environment. And that's why what used to break you now builds you. That's why the weight that once exhausted you now empowers you. You're no longer relying on borrowed energy. You're no longer fueled by the anxiety of lack. Instead, you're powered by the rhythm of supernatural reassurance. And even though you can't always see the mechanics behind the moments, the results speak louder than logic. The small things begin falling into place with stunning precision. The right people say yes. The right calls come through. The right connections happen by chance. But it's not chance. It's divine choreography. This is the territory of favor, the landscape of funding that doesn't ask if you deserve it, it simply responds to your alignment. You have stepped out of striving and into surrender. You have stopped begging and started receiving. And this receiving is not passive, it's active. It meets you when you rise. It flows through your decisions. It whispers clarity in your moments of silence. This isn't a one-time blessing. It's a system of divine operation built around your life's timeline. You are now operating on spiritual reserves that never run out. You are plugged into the kind of source that doesn't need to check the economy or worry about approval. The funding was never dependent on outer systems. It was always spiritual, always eternal, always rooted in your purpose. And because of that, the resources won't come and go with circumstances. They'll flow according to obedience, timing, and trust. Some won't understand how you made it. They'll try to trace your steps, analyze your plans, even recreate your journey. But they'll always miss the key component, the invisible hand of God. The grace that funded your rise cannot be copied. The provision that covered your gap wasn't just a check or a chance, it was a holy decision. And now that it's activated, it can't be reversed. You've crossed over into a realm of spiritual supply that is more real than the physical world around you. The air around you is becoming different. What used to drain you now energizes you. What once confused you now makes sense because God is not just providing, he's reprogramming. You're learning a new way to live. A way where stress isn't your default. Where you don't have to chase what's already been promised. Where the future doesn't scare you because it's already been funded by a force greater than anything you've faced. You'll start speaking differently, not out of arrogance, but out of awareness. You'll carry a quiet assurance that shifts rooms before you speak. Not because you're trying to impress, but because something about your energy now announces what your mouth doesn't have to. That's what happens when your life is being resourced by heaven. You walk into rooms and atmospheres change. You speak and timing aligns, you dream and doors open. This doesn't mean challenges disappear. It means your supply is no longer tied to the challenge. It means the problem doesn't panic you anymore. Because while others are scrambling, you've tapped into a rhythm that is eternal. You've moved from depending on facts to living by divine frequency. And when that frequency flows through you, even detours become destiny. Even delays become development. Even no become divine redirections. There are still blessings hidden in plain sight, waiting for you to show up with the awareness that you're already covered. You'll walk into meetings where the outcome has already been decided in your favor. You'll apply for things and feel an inexplicable peace because God already placed your name on the list. You'll plan with confidence because you're no longer gambling on your own strength. You're walking in agreement with the one who holds every outcome. And as you continue to step forward, you'll begin to trust your instincts again. You'll recognize that those deep nudges and sacred prompts were never just feelings. They were instructions from the source of your funding. You'll move not to earn, but to align. You'll give not from emptiness, but from fullness. You'll dream not out of desperation, but out of knowing. That is the difference divine funding makes. It restores your rhythm. It reignites your imagination. It releases your tension. So when people ask you how you're doing all of this, smile. Smile because you know the truth. Smile because the evidence of God's hand is becoming louder than your past pain. Smile because you are no longer bound by the limitations of yesterday. You've been resourced by the most faithful funer in the universe. And he doesn't run out. He doesn't withdraw. He doesn't forget. He funds in fullness. You're not chasing provision anymore. Provision is chasing you. And that chosen one is exactly how it was always meant to be. There is something quietly monumental unfolding around you now. It doesn't come with sirens or spotlight. It doesn't scream for attention, but it is mighty, it is certain. It is unstoppable, and because when God funds your life, he doesn't do it halfway. He funds with finality, with intention, with eternity in mind, and by the time the world tries to figure out what's happening in your life, the blueprint will already be built. The foundation will already be poured. The blessing will already be rooted because the divine move has already begun. Everything that once seemed distant is now in orbit around you. And this time, it's not slipping through your fingers. This time, you're not operating from a place of scarcity, fear, or second guessing. You are functioning with grace, clarity, and bold alignment. The provision is not just landing, it's staying. Because it's not based on performance. It's not based on how well you explain yourself. It's not based on who supports you or who doubts you. It's based on a heavenly promise that was declared long before anyone else knew your name. And now your spirit is finally catching up to that truth. You've outgrown the old mindset of trying to prove your worth. You've graduated from trying to force doors open. You've stopped apologizing for what you carry. You're no longer shrinking for rooms that were never designed to hold you, because the one who funds your future has no intention of keeping you small. His supply isn't partial. His blessings don't come in fragments. When God funds your life, he funds the entire vision.